to go over some of the status reports on battery systems task groups. To get you up to speed on the state recognition of the TIA's 2017 energy storage system requirements in the task groups, what they've been working on, and we're going to present the permitting process issues that we've talked about a little bit. So I want to welcome to all those people that are online. Okay,
it looks like online we have Alan Fields, Craig Carney, Jeff Keys, Kevin Reinerson. And then we have some attendees online as well.
Again, thank you for logging in. Feel free to ask questions. We'll monitor that and make sure that your voices are heard. Today, again, I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate in discussions. At the same time, I want to make sure that we stay on the agenda, don't go into the weeds, we stay on topic. So we will follow the agenda that was presented and sent out. I want to get you up to speed on some of the steering committee. Steering committee has met. We met on November 21st. We discussed the transition on looking at different options on funding. We are working directly with Howard now, and I'm going to let Howard go into, he's got quite a bit that he can share and get us up to speed on SEAC and where we are on the funding and us going forward. But everything looks good. The steering committee also met December 25th to make sure that everything is still going forward with the different committees. Specifically, the energy storage committees are still working on the plan review documents and the inspection documents. That work is continuing. The last inspection energy system conference call was on December 1st. If you go into the Google Docs, you'll see that those docs are posted up there, and that you can review them, add comments into them, but they have been posted online. So again, we're doing good going through this transition period. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the majority of the rest of the time to Howard to get you up on some of the funding requirements.
Okay, thanks, Steve. I'm Howard Choi with LA County, more specifically the Internal Services Department within the county. And then within that department, I run the County Office of Sustainability. I'll tell you, though, that name's probably going to change quickly because the county actually did just hire a Chief Sustainability Officer who will work out of the Chief Executive Office. So probably doesn't make any sense for the county to have a Chief Sustainability Officer who doesn't work within the County Office of Sustainability. So there'll be some name juggling in the near future. But the main point is that our organization is committed to the funding necessary to keep this group going for this year at a minimum. And you know, we work a lot of our work. A lot of our work is funded by the California Public Utility Commission. And so through this organization called the Southern California Regional Energy Network, which my office administers, we run energy programs throughout all of Southern California. Energy efficiency, financing for energy efficiency for residential, non-residential, public sector, private sector buildings. So that's the primary part of what we do. But then, and I talked about this last time, very, very important to the Public Utility Commission and the California Energy Commission are codes and standards. And primarily how to increase compliance with and enforcement of energy-related codes and standards. That's a huge, huge deal for the state. So, so we see the SEAC, what's been created by Public Works in the past, however long you've been in existence, as probably a really good foundation for driving the kind of increased code enforcement, code compliance that the state likes to see. And that doesn't necessarily mean just, holding a gun to somebody's head and mandating greater compliance, right, or greater enforcement. There's other ways to do it, and your work with the solar permitting manual is a perfect example of another way, right, to help the state achieve its outcomes. So as part of this whole PUC process, they want to develop long-term programs so that this funding that they provide to the utilities and to this organization that we run, beginning in 2018, they want to provide funding on a longer term, potentially as long as 10 years, so that people can start doing some strategic planning, right, and thinking about how to set up a program that you don't have to worry about getting only 1 or 2 or 3 years worth of funding each time and then worrying whether you're going to get funding the next time. So as part of that, we submitted a draft business plan for this Southern California Regional Energy Network as part of the long-term 5 to 10-year funding cycle. And part of that plan was our thinking on how codes and standards could be part of what we do. So, and the steering committee or the leadership committee has the drafts of all these documents. And what I'm envisioning is, we can fund through funding that we've already got for 2017. We can fund the necessary components of keeping this group functioning to complete the work that you've started, or the work that the near-term work that you see you want to do. What I'd also like to do is have the leadership committee and the membership start thinking about, how does SEAC, how can SEAC fit or transform themselves or grow to support some of the objectives of this business plan that we submitted. And again, it won't be just solar, as you know, it's now energy. So it will involve your peers and your other folks in all of the various fields, right? HVAC, electric vehicle. You're working on the battery storage, other types of distributed generation, controls, right? Building control systems, etc. So it's gonna to meet the goals of this business plan, then it means SEAC looking at expanding to take on, right, these challenges in these different technology areas. So,
but they're symbiotic with, they really relate with each other. So.
They really relate with each other, and what this business plan states, what it reiterates really is what the state wants to see, right? The state policy is zero net energy buildings, right? And so that's where all of these technologies relate. That's where solar DG, solar PV, other types of DG, energy efficiency, demand response, electric vehicle charging, storage, that's where they all come together, right, in a zero net energy building. So how do we get to zero net energy buildings? Well, the codes and the standards and things like that are going to be a critical part of it. So the way we can keep this going is I have the program manager for this will be the Center for Sustainable Energy. So Marissa Spata is down there from CSE, and she will be the program manager working under the county to keep this going. And Marissa and CSC are right now in the process of subcontracting with Paula to continue her really valuable role in what you're doing. You all said goodbyes right at the last meeting, and we were trying to do this even in the last meeting. We were trying to do it even in the last meeting, everything I've told you, but Paula wanted to say goodbye, I guess. So. Anyway, I'm fairly confident that Paula subcontracting under CSC will be fine through my part of the county, and hopefully all that paperwork will get wrapped up very shortly. In the meantime, you'll still see a lot of Rosemary Ampill helping to coordinate and facilitate a lot of the near-term activities. But as CSC and Paula as their part of this gets solidified, they will take on more and more of this work, and Rosemary will more than likely start backing out and working on the stuff we originally hired her for. However, she likes what she sees you folks are doing, and she'll likely want to stay involved somewhat as well. And then so the management, the facilitation of SEAC is nearly at the point where our department is administering it. Paula's contract is completed with Public Works. I believe it's terminated. So, and we have, as I mentioned, CSC already under contract. So, I guess you could say the conversion is complete to our department administering this program with CSC as the program manager. However, Public Works, Kit and Mustafa are still going to play a very, very important role as a public agency, much like all the other jurisdictions that are here and the other stakeholders that are here that are impacted, right, by what the state is trying to do. So they're going to lead by example as the county, helping to find the types of solutions, right, that this business plan seeks to do over the long term. So they'll be very prominent in leading by example in their participation in these efforts, and helping to come up with solutions over the long term that we're looking for. So, Kit, I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
No, I just want to thank Howard and Rosemary just for making the transition simple. And we're not quite there yet, but it looks like we're in the right direction. So a thank you, and it'll allow us to take on a role maybe more suited for our responsibilities. And we're looking forward to do exactly what Howard said. Also want to say thanks to Michelle for the big help too. She's yeah, we're just looking forward to it, and just second everything you just said.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that. And so as we're completing or continuing to work, or as you are, I'm not doing anything. As you continue to complete your short-term or your more immediate tasks here, I think as I said, the other half of this is going to be thinking about and proposing and putting in place the type of organization that SEAC wants to be or needs to be to support these long-term efforts. And what I'm fairly comfortable in telling you is that as we do this, there will be additional resources, to help you accomplish this. Okay, I'm envisioning that we can bring more to the table than funding CSE and Paula's time to help facilitate, coordinate, and administer this as well as Rosemary's time. But if there's other resources you think are valuable in terms of outreach or training or whatever, that's a part of this. The slate is blank right now in terms of how SEAC can transition and grow itself to meet these issues that I'm facing with this organization that we run. So, and I apologize, I have to leave right after this piece to get to Santa Monica for some more meetings. But you know, and maybe I'm taking you past your agenda time frame.
Don't worry about it.
But I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any questions. It's all good?
Well, so I see that, at least from my chief seat, I would see that in the next probably month, that just to get a good start on the next year, is that the steering group would be taking your document there, and as well as putting together basically some details of operating rules, or something that to define how the details of the infrastructure, how we want to work or function moving forward. Communicating back and forth with you, make sure we're within what you're able to be administering and funding, and then we go from there into the new year, right?
Yes, and you'll be working probably most closely. And I know that Marissa, did you want to add anything about how you view this effort and this endeavor?
Just generally that we're really excited to be involved with this group, and we definitely want to glean and learn from what you all have been focusing on over the last 18 months or so, and continue to build on that vision, incorporate the new ideas that Howard was discussing, but we definitely are championing the opportunity that you all have to review the business plan and align your strategy with what these greater goals are. But to your point, yes, we definitely want to focus on how we're going to do this. So if I may add to the things to say as an action item, just for the meeting minutes, that the steering group will provide some sort of schematic or infrastructure.
And it'll be all completed before the next meeting of this group, which would be February 18th, 16th, 17th. I can't remember. I was looking at my calendar.
We're excited that every third
February 16th.
If I can make one more note to CSC assisted in the development of the business plan, so we're happy to provide any support there that you all have as you work through that document.
Well, let's put it bluntly. CSE wrote the Codes and Standards chapter of the business plan. I can assure you, I didn't write it. So CSE, as you probably know, is a major player in California at a minimum in the world of codes and standards, at least on the energy side.
So I think that how and why this group has gone from being a kind of a tentative, gee, we're not sure what this group is going to do or be, to what a lot of us that have invested a considerable amount of resources, personal resources from our organizations and our own. What we want to see it be, that I think that there's a keen interest to have that continued shared coalition, if you will, of all stakeholders. I think that's what, in my opinion, and that's based on a lot of conversations I've had individually and collectively with a number of people that I feel that's what makes SEAC unique and be able to do what it does. That we do have the ability to have the voice of anybody and everybody, and then consider that, and then I think that then there's agreement. That's what happens when you partner up and you have agreement. Yep. So that's why I think that having that steering group as it is with a good balance of stakeholders, I think is a good thing too.
I think we're way better off this month than we were the last time we met. There's more of a commitment and more surety that we're going to survive this transition. And Howard, I appreciate that. CSE, I appreciate that because I think that we're doing a great job here. I think that there's a lot that we are getting out of all the stakeholders being involved in this process. So I appreciate the solid footing that we have going forward. The steering committee has a lot of work to do going forward, getting operating rules in effect that we can count on, and going back through this draft. That'll be the main thing for the steering group going forward. One thing I want to ask this group one more time: is there anybody here and anybody online opposed to SEAC moving forward and growing into this new mission, working with SoCal Renewable Energy Network? Now's your time to speak up.
Or if there's things that you would like to have the steering group consider.
That's true. Anything that you would like to bring up that you see is necessary for the steering group and this group going forward. What I don't want to have is later on, as we move down this new adventure, that not everybody's fully committed. I want to make sure everybody's fully committed. Again, this is a great partnership. I think we can help them and they can help us. This is not something that's out of our league. This is something that we're already doing. And so this is a great partnership. But I just want to make sure that the group has a chance to discuss it in full. And there's never a discussion that we never had this opportunity. I'm going to turn the time back over to the floor for a second. Thank you, Howard.
Sounds like everyone's good.
It sounds like everybody's in agreement.
Okay, thank you.
There were no comments online? Yeah. Perfect. Great. Let's move to the second item on the agenda, status of the battery systems task group. Mustafa?
Yes, ever since last meeting we had 6 conference calls, and we have worked on the checklist heavily, but it's a huge task. I don't know.
Do you want us to pull up from the checklist?
No,
It's a 12-page document. I don't know if you want to go through it.
Yes, it's a huge task, and we are trying to cover all the aspects of the battery storage. With a few phone calls, we're trying to distinguish from 2014 versus 2017 regarding energy storage system versus energy battery, which is in the current code. So that's the difficulty for some of our jurisdictions, which adopted 2014 for California, being able to enforce 2014 versus 2017. But we're getting there. How long it's going to take, I don't know. We are, for the next 2 weeks, we actually had arranged 3 more conference calls. But as far as when it's going to be done, I would say maybe the first 6 months of next year. I'm very serious. It's a lot of issues. There's a lot of areas we're trying to cover. And it's a lot of commitment from the task group to be on the calls, and we're getting very minimum on people participating on the conference calls as well.
ahead, John.
So, Mustafa, can you clarify too, though, that the first focus is on electrical,
First focus is
and that because there's so many issues on the electrical to work through, comparatively, frankly, to either fire or building, that's the first focus, and then the second will be come back and make sure that any issues or concerns from a building perspective or a fire perspective are addressed then.
so Mr.
So
Dunn
such as content, how much can you materials can you have? Where can you locate? Inside, outside, that kind of thing.
So we have been counting on you, since you promised you were going to
Exactly, and it's going to be based, right, and so for the fire guys, a lot of it is based off of the work that was done by the ITC Fire Code Action Committee in identifying what issues and concerns there are for the fire side. And I'm sure Kevin will probably appreciate my making that comment, and that's basically what we brought forward. But just to assure that the first order of business is the electrical, where there's a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about what needs to be done for plan checking for that because of how the electrical code is at this point.
Right. One of the issues that we actually were discussing last week was the rapid shutdown for if somebody wants to come in and get a storage permit, higher storage permit. We're going to require rapid shutdown for somebody coming in and they want to do that. It's just a battery storage system. So that is what it says in the code. So that's one of the issues that they actually were talking for just for that almost an hour. Trying to see if I have existing TV and I'm coming in to pull the permit for adding a storage battery to my system. Are we going to enforce the rapid shutdown? The answer is yes.
Rapid shutdown for the TV system.
Rapid shutdown for the battery. For the battery. Yeah. The battery is leading that the way. The code in the 2014 says for energy, the system on the rapid shutdown portion of the code. So that it is.
There has to be basically the disconnect for the battery.
Yes.
Works off the same.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. So that means the additional distance has to be. And again, the biggest issue is 2017 energy storage system versus 2014 battery system, as the code calls it. Lengthy conversation between the task group members on that front, because some of us are not enforcing 2017, we enforce 2014, and it doesn't get address an energy storage system, period.
Thank you, Mustafa. It sounds like there's a lot of work. Question on the informational bulletin. You haven't started on that process yet.
John is
You're jumping.
Okay.
You just did this one. Now you can
Okay.
do this one.
Thank you for the clarification. I'll take back my question.
Then you can ask a question.
Okay, thank you, Mustafa. I appreciate that. Okay, so we turn the time over to Jim.
Is Charles Picard on the line?
No.
Are you covering for Charles? Absolutely. You could always have been up here.
Jim Cahill on the line.
We all have to shed a crocodile tear for Jim, and his regrets that he couldn't be here in person. I guess he's in Kauai. Sadness. Right. Charles actually sent me his notes from the December 1 meeting with a little bit of an update of what's going on with the inspection doc. And I fired up some questions back to him, but I wanted to ask, were you at that meeting? Because I see you put some comments on the newest version of the document.
there was clarity to make sure that we were just talking about installations that were 1 and 2 family dwelling issues.
Got it.
Of residential, because it was that's real easy to deal with. Whereas, and that's what the plan check and the document is also focused on, is dealing with from a residential point of view, not dealing with high rises, not dealing with commercial, because that brings in a whole mess of other criteria, a whole host of other issues and concerns. The second half of that, of the guide instead of checklist, there was some that had, and that could be a debate for the overall committee once the task group is, because at the end of the day, the task group is going to say, this is what we came up with. The committee's going to go either or down or sideways. As I recall, the concern that some had is that, well, this is not every single thing that you would check, because we're not obviously going to put down things such as you got to have working clearance, because that's a given regardless. And so we were trying to make it as these are the key things you need to be aware of in relationship to that are brought up because of the energy storage. That's one thing I remember.
Focus specific to energy storage as opposed to a comprehensive treatment of everything a trade person would have to be able to do.
Yeah,
understood.
And that was the big thing. I think the secondary was that there was concern by some that, well, it is a guide, it's not necessarily, well, checklist kind of invokes certain issues and stuff.
Okay. And that came out in the notes that I got from Charles.
Yeah.
I appreciate you kind of expanding on that one. Charles indicated that the categories in the guide are now mirroring the categories in the plan check doc, so general, batteries, charge controllers, and so on. That some references and side notes to Article 706 have been added wherever applicable. There's some reformatting going on. So Charles indicated that there was a desire to move away from the Q&A type format. Is that because that's seen as being checklisty?
Well, the suggestion was that to tighten up a little bit on just quick bullets, you got to do this, do this, rather than is this way or is this that way? It's just you do this, you do this, you do this. And similar, the suggestion was on the formatting was to follow in very closely the same format you have the solar permitting guidebook on the checklist. You know how you just have the quick bullet points, and you have the section numbers that you can refer to.
Yep.
Because the thought was, or the suggestion was by several on the call, was that if you make it reasonably short and concise and with the right citations and items to cite, is that it's going to be used. Whereas if it's anything closing to I'm telling you a story, then don't use it. Right?
You have insomnia? I've got an installation guide. You should see. Okay.
It's the latest and greatest.
I like it. Yeah, short and sweet. And again, making it useful for building officials, and Charles also said making it useful for installers as well, to know what you got to go and reference if you're going to make sure that your system is compliant. That there are two major paths to compliance. Charles has called this the choose your adventure format, either full 9540 system listing, which I like, or the a la carte collection of composite of listed equipment. Additional content to be added, he says, if needed. Is there a desire to get all the residential building code references in there, not just the NEC references?
Yeah.
His comment here was that Solar City systems are going to be largely plug and play, and that's certainly the realm of expertise that we can bring to this document. I wasn't clear whether or not there was some thought that lead acid was going to be invoked and any other kind of battery systems that were
Yeah, I think the way, if you don't mind, John, I think the way the guide is focused right now is that it is very highly weighted towards the lead acid battery banks that are mounted on the wall and insulated mechanisms and so forth. Exactly where I think that we need to swing the focus to the systems that will be installed, which will be these all-included, 9540 systems, AC coupled only, things like that are coming out. I think that's where we have to, there's like I said, there's a lot of emphasis on that, the old 480, you know, Article 480, 690, whatever it is, Part 7 or 8 kind of stuff.
Got it.
Really need to look at the,
Yeah,
more
the
modern
new technologies really
Yeah.
push the limits,
yeah,
push the, you know, kind of get people a little more, oh my gosh, what does that mean?
yeah,
And so that's what the efforts actually involve 3 of these different docs, and instead of documents, the plan check, inspection, informational bulletin are trying to address.
right,
And what you have, plan check has been struggling a bit with how do you deal with certain things when the 2014 code doesn't quite, you know, it's kind of set in the past.
yeah, and to further that comment, John, the 2014 is way behind on the way systems are envisioned today, and the 2017 code doesn't do much more to get you there, really.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of dangerous here for us writing these guides, because the tendency is going to be to try to write the code the way we think it should be. And I know there is a 2020 series coming up, but I mean, I don't know, that, you know, that's something that we gotta think about.
One of the things I would hope is, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop real quick. One of the things I would hope is that as an action committee, as we're going through these guides and we're trying to make, you know, to actually apply what the code has to what we see in the field, that we go, oh my gosh, there's certain things that need to be fixed in the code. That I hope that the SEAC, from these task groups, we could, as an organization, SEAC, make a proposal, make a series of proposals in the course of next year, the first half of next year, to the NEC,
Right.
to the building code, to the fire code, to say, hey, gosh, there's some clarification that needs to be here, and here's a proposal to fix this or that.
You know, John, that's a great idea. The 2020 NEC cycle is opening up for public comment, input, and if this committee could come up with something, we may be able to even pass it along, and as members of IAEI,
So it's a twofold.
we could submit it
Yeah.
with IAEI. The IAEI has 2 members on each code-making panel. And so if we could get, in conjunction with IAEI, we'd have a better chance of getting our proposals passed.
Right. I love it.
You'd have support in the room for our proposals. And so I think that's a great idea, and this committee could help shape the way the code can be for energy storage systems going forward.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you, the batting average for IAI is extremely high.
Very.
If it's an IAI proposal, it has usually, it's going to be pretty darn close, if not what was proposed.
So one of the things we got to keep in mind, that a lot of jurisdiction, I'm mostly talking about California, have been enforcing 2014 NEC. And we cannot call this document, these 2 or 3 documents, energy storage systems, because related to a 2017 NEC, which a lot of jurisdiction, and I'm in a fortunate situation that I was able to take and enforce Article 706. But a lot of jurisdiction, I'm talking to Pedro from City of LA, and I think Pedro is on the line. He's adamant about keeping 2014 NEC as it is, and it talks about storage batteries, and that's it. So you got to be very careful. So the idea was for us to write one document for storage batteries and one for energy storage systems. So for not only for people in California, for other part of the country to be able to use these documents. We cannot make no references to the storage batteries 2014 to Article 706, which is there in 2017. It's just that it's got no jurisdiction, no attorney having jurisdiction, no building official be able to say, okay, I'm going to do this, not having the backing like my county has given me to be able to take Article 706 and say, I'm enforcing it as of today.
And the same temptation for the fire
This is
code.
Dave Conover.
There are, the fire code has very little in IFC, in the fire code in section 608 in the current code. But there's been a lot of expansion that was done just in this last code cycle, and which is more in keeping with what are the concerns of the fire service and what but it's also what industry is willing to live with. And so therefore it's like, it's funny how we have this problem about wanting to reach forward and grab what's relevant, and we're just kind of having to work that through. And I think that's another reason why, frankly, that these are called guides, not necessarily.
But I'm just saying, if you just don't want to produce something that any one of us who are enforcing the code get a hold of it and say, I can't do this. It's not something that I can do. It's not in my code right now. Yeah, it's in code coming out.
This is Dave Conover. This is Dave Conover.
It's going to be, I have to get in the right ordinance. I have to go through my, the whole process of adopting the ordinance. So I won't be able to enforce it. Just want to keep that in mind. Other than, we are working on that, and I hope that the inspection group are working on that, separating those two from each other.
Okay, there's somebody online that'd like to speak.
Yeah, this is Dave Conover with Pacific Northwest National Lab in Virginia. Sorry, I guess there's a time lag. I just wanted to make a comment. Hi, John. In response to the 2017 NEC, I just wanted to point out that there was a task group established under NFPA to develop that Article 706 and other related changes to the 2017 NEC, and my understanding is that same task force will be rebooted early next year with the purpose of doing more to 706 and other energy storage related articles to update the 2017, et cetera, et cetera. I think there was and I was on that group. It was chaired by John Kravachik of UL, who I think did an excellent job of bringing in a lot of interested and affected parties to develop 706. But the short piece of information is that's going to get rebooted early next year, so that may provide an opportunity for SEAC to participate in that task group and get input into what would become an NFPA task force of sorts input to the 2020 NEC.
And a great point. Thanks, Dave. And I know you've been super involved in this subject for quite a long time. The other thing, too, that we should probably add in this discussion is that NFPA has just formed a new document, NFPA 855, which is a standalone installation code standard for energy storage systems. In fact, it had its first pre-meeting of the technical committee was last week, and I think their first pre-TC meeting is January 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there in San Diego.
In San Diego. If I can, John, that's an excellent point. That the need for that type of standard, so it's what I call covering the installation of the box, as opposed to the box itself being addressed by, say, UL 9540, or parts of the box being addressed by UL 1973 or what have you, this was identified by an energy storage safety working group that DOE has had P&L and Sandia supporting. This was identified over a year ago, that there was a need for an installation standard. So it could be as simple as test and list the box to standard X and install it in accordance with standard Y. And this is exactly the model that was used 25 years ago for stationary fuel cells. So there's an NFPA 853 that covers them. So the short answer is they formed this committee. That is a DOE safety program, Sandia and P&L, working with about 30 interested and affected parties, actually drafted a draft of that document, and NFPA has picked it up. So there's actually a first draft of the document that committee will be working with. They already have it, and they'll be discussing it at that meeting in January. it's very important to point out the intent of that document is not to re-emphasize, not intended to reinvent the wheel. It's intended to, in one place, point people to for electrical issues. It could be 70E, it could be NFPA 70, it could be on grid side, pointing them to IEEE C2. For testing and listing, it would point them to UL 9540, et cetera, and then where there's a need to fill in gaps, then it would have a specific criteria in that standard where there wasn't another document it could point you to, so that it at least provides in one place a set of criteria that somebody documenting safety compliance or verifying safety compliance can go within one cover to at least get what they need or point them in an organized fashion to other documents such as NFPA 70. Sorry to take so long, but I wanted to elaborate on that.
And Dave, just to make clear too, is that on 855, it's not electric centric. It is all perspectives. There would be fire, NFPA 1, and
yes,
building, and all any aspect that is of concern for the installation of installation and use of energy storage systems. Correct?
It's signage, it's clearances, it's even what the heck do I do with a 40,000 gallon tank of electrolyte that's on the 52nd floor of a building, if I can even put it there. And it's also not just electric, but it covers mechanical, so it's not just batteries per se and the wide range of different chemistries and types, but it's also mechanical and thermal, because, you know, flywheels, you know, while they don't have an electrical issue necessarily, they have some other mechanical issues that are unique to flywheels. So yes, it's covering the whole waterfront, but as I said, hopefully it will point people to the right direction, whether it's, you know, an NFPA 13 or a UL 9540 or what have you, and then where there's a need for actual text to cover, you know, something like clearances or whatever, signage, you know, it's actually drafted up in that document.
So for those of you who are wanting to follow this and such, is that if there's a home page, if you will, specifically for this on NFPA's website, and you can simply go there by going nfpa.org/855, and that will take you right to that spot, and there will be a series of tabs, and there will be next edition, and you can go there and you can see the agenda for the January meeting down in San Diego, and as things develop on this, they will be populated there. No different than if you wanted to see everything and anything about the development of the National Electrical Code, you would go to nfpa.org/70, because it's NFPA 70 is the designation, and you can get all the information. You can go back, archive on 70 back quite a ways if you wish as well, and that's where you can, for example, if you know how to plunk around in there, you can get the TIA stuff as well. So.
And John, Lori Florence from your organization is a member of that committee.
Yes, Lori Florence is on that committee. Lori is our primary, and Howard Hopper is our alternate member on that committee.
And I've mentioned, just while we're on it, Matt Payas with the San Jose Fire Department is a member of the committee. He's in California anyway, and also Paul Rogers is with Hazmat New York City, who's been dealing with a lot of installations and has a lot of experience. Both of them are on the committee. So there are a lot of manufacturers on the committee, clearly, but there are also, I find, folks involved in conformity assessment and other necessary background. So sorry to take your time on that, but I thought it was important to mention.
Dave, you mentioned there was a Sandia paper on this topic. Do you have the number for that paper?
A Sandia paper?
What would be the link for the paper that you put together for DOE on energy storage systems? I believe is what Mark is asking. Yeah. And maybe the thing is, Dave, is simply I think it may have been updated a little bit, and if you want, if you could just zip me the link that you have for that document that DOE has on, and I believe you have a special site
Yes,
for this topic. If you just send me that, I'll make sure to distribute it to everybody.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is send you the site because there is lots of information, whether it's testing reports, research, plans, PowerPoints, you know, whatever. I'll send you that, and then folks can go there and take or use compliance guide, take or use whatever they want.
So if you didn't notice my sly effort there is that for the informational bulletin that SEAC, that third one, I was just waiting, that's why I told you wait for a little bit. I kind of figured something like this would happen, and I'm so appreciative of what Dave was talking there, is that in the informational bulletin, there are several questions, and because we did do it in the Q&A format, we're doing the Q&A format as what was done for the rack mounting systems UL 2703, is that to answer certain quick questions on such things as what does it mean by UL 9540, what does it mean by UL 1973, those kind of points, as well as what's the difference between a storage battery and an energy storage system, those kind of things. But also to provide in that informational bulletin a direct link to the site that Dave and Pam Cole have put together for DOE that is quite exhaustive and provides further background, so that you have quick. My thinking on the informational bulletin was to have quick and dirty answers to the biggest issues, rather than having to go dig deep for it. But then also to provide links to a couple of informational pages that are out on the website. UL's got some, DOE's got some, so forth, that will help people get links. And also give an update on where are we in the code development processes and how people can get involved in that, such as Dave's note about the task group for 2020, the NFPA 855, as well as what's going on in the fire codes, and has been going on in the fire codes. So therefore, I slyly did my report.
Nice, John. Very nice. I like the way you worked that in.
It was one of that.
Are there any other comments on energy storage systems?
So just a final thought. My understanding is that you guys view the remaining work on this document to be largely editorial, and that we'll have something like final for the February meeting.
Well, on the inspection one, I would think that certainly there'd be probably about maybe two calls probably between now and February, just to make sure everybody's good with, you know, did we not just the format, but did we just to verify, did we miss anything, or is there any holes that need to be done? But I would think it probably might be able to be done on a quicker basis.
How could the inspection be done before we got the checklist for the plan check to be completed? Because the team members, the inspection checklist will mimic the plan check.
True.
Some of the stuff on the plan check. So we haven't finished the plan check, and then they're going to finalize the inspection.
What's the timeline on the plan check then?
Well, the stop is at 6 months.
I'm anticipating the way it's going. You know, Alan is on the phone too, so it's taking a long time. And we are, we share the next 3 meetings that you scheduled. It was next Monday, the following Wednesday, and the following Monday, right?
Yes.
For me?
Yes.
Maybe just doing it in fast pace. It's not like it's dragging. It's just that there's a lot of information. We're trying to hit all the information one by one, and John has been on some of those phone calls as well.
How much do you think? But, well, it felt to me that I wouldn't, I mean, 6 months is quite a long time for something that's needed, right?
Oh, we just got into, as we speak, I believe we just got into the controller portion of the energy storage. You haven't even got into the battery portion of it. Then we got to deal with the inverter portion of it. So all the requirements that we'll be looking at. So the document is on, Michelle, if you don't mind, you want to get the Google Doc out, and then if you don't mind,
It's a dozen pages, I know that. So maybe the question I would have is that, would it be possible to consider, I mean, I get that what we're trying to do, at least I'm getting the impression what we're trying to do on the plan check one, especially, is we're trying to say, okay, here's what you do if you have a listed, and I'm going to say it in this way, a self-contained system, a box. It's listed to UL 9540, and you don't have to be looking at all the little components of with the inverter and the switching and the wiring and the size of wiring and all that stuff aside, versus somebody is going out and taking an inverter, listed inverter, taking a listed wire, taking listed switches, taking listed battery, and assembling their own. And I get it that doing that is going to take quite a bit.
you're working on that portion first, because don't forget, that is part of the battery storage for 2014. The 9540s becomes under the 2017 NEC, which we started, remember the first meeting you were on, we're going to leave that for the next.
But I would suggest that a lot of, there's a growing number of products that are either out there or are coming online where manufacturers are moving fast and furious to get the listing to the 9540 as a complete package, because of it's invaluable to them. If you think about with 90.7, that if they can have it under a standard, if they can have a product listed under a standard that it addresses all these issues,
I agree with you.
then it's a lot easier for, in certain respects, for inspection and for plan check inspection. So what my question would be is, would it be possible to consider that trying for February of having it where, and remember, we're just talking about residential systems too, is whether we could say, okay, here's what would happen if you had a listed 9540. And we're still working on the other part, because I think the listed 9540 would be rather a lot easier to do, if I may be so bold. And then there's at least a tool for people to use if they needed it right now, and then consider the plan check document, consider the inspection document as here's initial drafts, and then that they're a work in progress in regards to addressing those people who want to construct pretty much in the field. They want to, rather than construct in the factory, they want to construct their energy storage system.
So as you know, John, not that many systems are out there that are 9540 listed. So
I'm sorry?
Not that many systems are out there that are 9540 listed. So
they're coming fast.
they're coming faster, but because you want us to start writing what today's code that we're going to be adopting on January 1st, and then write on a system that almost all of California and not be even enforcing, which is going to be 2017.
Well, what I'm going to, but you, certainly at this point in time, you couldn't go and say, okay, I'm going to only accept a listed UL 9540, and that's it. I agree with you that there's not something that would say that's how you do it. But what I was getting at was that for those people that that might be the quick and, in other words, I'm trying to think out, is there a way to deal with a quick and dirty, if you will?
Right.
Like say it that way.
That came up with the latest storage system at the interface has. Yeah,
because there's two manufacturers right here that I know that would be very keen about having something that would provide a direction on, hey, if you got 9540, you just do boom, 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 you're out the door, bye, you're done, versus assembling
I agree with you, John. I think we do a disservice not addressing both of them. We need to address both of them. For me, it's easier for me as a plan checker to see a UL, subject UL 95.
Or let's say subject. It is a standard. It is an ANSI standard.
It is the
As
standard.
of November 21st, 2016.
They had the last
at 5 o'clock, at 5:02 in the evening, it became an ANSI standard. Well, I don't know if it was 5:02. I just couldn't remember. But November 21st.
And I agree, and so I didn't speak. The subject has gone away, and it is, and I sit on the STP for that, so it should, I know when the vote was due. And so, but I think that it's important that we address that going forward, because the plan checker is a lot easier.
I don't think we're saying that we're not going to address it. What I was suggesting is that I think that there's the list of things you would do as a plan checker, the list of things you would do as an inspector for a listed UL 9540 versus what you would do, what the list you would do as a plan checker, the list you would do as an inspector if you were to get a UL 1741 inverter and a UL 1973 battery and a UL 10008 switch, automatic transfer switch, and so forth down the line. It would seem to me that the first list is going to be pretty short. I could probably do it on one page. Whereas the other one, I'm going to be a number of pages. And so what I'm suggesting is that if I would, I'm just wondering if there's a way we could just simply say by February that we could have one that says how did Charles word that? You used some wording that Charles talked about. If you choose one way or another.
Choose your adventure.
Choose your adventure. If you choose your adventure as a 9540, then
you got one set of criteria.
Here's your set of criteria. If you choose your adventure the other direction, and not to say that you can't do it, and maybe the caveat would be is that 95 if that initial draft and label it as a draft, but people can pick it up if they find. And just simply
make it available.
Say 95. This is 9540, and this is, and you put just a clarifying statement at the beginning. This is one path. There are other paths, and we're working on the other path. But what I'm getting at is,
if I can just offer an analogy, I mean, in the not too distant past, you could buy a module laminate, and you could buy a junction box, and you could buy leads, and you could attach connectors, and you could basically make your own module. And I imagine that might still exist. But I mean, our expectation is that the closer we get to bringing appliances, and I'll put that in quotation marks, market, are going to be, the preponderance of the market share, the preponderance of the plan checks that your team's going to see, and all the teams nationally are likely to see, are going to be the ones that are going to be the easier, faster, cleaner, all one fell swoop kind of solution versus the ones
you don't want it to be continually checked.
Oh, if you got to go out there and buy a fridge, no problem, buy a box. Yeah.
Hey, John?
I need to be evaluated by a listing agent.
John?
Yeah.
This is Dave Conover again. Just relevant to that, the discussion you're having. The compliance guide that we put together and is on the website that I sent you all, and the compliance checklist that we've drafted and are forming a task force to help us circle through it, and the draft NFPA 855 document all distinguish systems in one of three ways. One is self-contained, prepackaged. So if I can use an HVAC example, it's a furnace. It's a heat pump. It may come with two different parts, indoor unit and outdoor unit, but the assembly, it's prepackaged, it comes in a box, and the whole thing is tested and listed as a package. The second, and there's a series then of criteria you follow for that particular product. And then the second one is pre-engineered. So pre-engineered might be a 500-ton carrier chiller where I got a chiller and I've got expansion valves and I got piping and I got all sorts of stuff. It's so big it doesn't fit in a box. It comes in parts, but it's pre-engineered and it's intended, the components are intended to be fit together on site as a system. And there's a series of maybe more, I'm not going to say more hoops, but just additional criteria you apply to that because you're essentially assembling the system as part of a building. It doesn't just come in a box all put together. And then the third type is what's called engineered and field constructed, or I lovingly refer to as an erector set, where somebody just buys parts from different places. The parts may or not be tested and listed, but the point is they're, the integrator, the designer, it's not coming from Carrier, it's not coming from Train, it's just a bunch of parts, and then you're dealing with failure modes and effects analysis and additional hoops, if you will, that somebody documenting or verifying safety needs to deal with on that system compared to, say, the self-contained prepackaged. So these documents that I've mentioned all look at systems in that way, which seems to be similar or identical to what you're discussing.
Good. That's a very healthy discussion. Thank you, David. That's really good information, and I hope that you're still going to be actively involved with these committees. You have some great input, some great information that will help these committees go forward. Thank you.
So much for being retired, huh, Dave?
Well, I'm retired, but they want me to work on this and hydrogen, so I'm helping a little bit. I enjoy doing fourth grade math on Wednesdays. Fourth grade math and science is a lot more fun working with 10-year-olds, I guess, than sometimes dealing with codes and standards. But anyway.
There's no better way to leave a legacy than to share all the knowledge that you have gathered over the years with your colleagues coming up following your path. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, John, I see status of the state recognition of TIAs up next.
Yeah, so basically hard work from three individuals, Mark Baldessari, Duncan Clemenshaw, well actually it's Duncan's team. I shouldn't just throw the other guys off to the side, but Duncan had a couple of his staff help on the two he took on.
And I don't know if Kyle's on the call, but Kyle Bruning absolutely has been critical for us on this, and Danielle Bentz is on parts of this call. I don't know if she's on at the moment, but yeah, those two are on the hamster wheel around the clock on this stuff. And but essentially, I'm going to, even though I don't want to throw Danielle and Kyle in his butt, but I'll just make it a little simpler. Is Mark, those that took responsibility, Mark took responsibility for 2 TIAs, and those were for the one regarding the deletion of the listed ASCI protection for the wiring harness, and for the other one in 690 for the TV connectors as a disconnecting means, if I remember right. That. And Duncan took on the jumping from 10 to 30 seconds for the rapid shutdown, as well as for the center tap of the panel boards. And then I, in usual typical Packer fashion, voluntold Alan Steele, who from Songevity, who Alan has been on just about every single call I can recall regarding everything in regard to the solar permitting guidebook, is that Alan looked at the solar permitting guidebook to find where would be a good place to insert reference to the TIAs and the information bulletin, as well as a Reader's Digest brief on what a TIA is and how to use it, and to reference the informational bulletin. And so
these three individuals have pulled together that material, and I thought I had everything together, and I lost the damn. Oh, can I say that? Anyway, beep. This is a George Carlin routine. No, is that I have to redraft the email that I thought I had together and I'm going to do that today to the state California Business Standards Commission that has what these three people and pulling together what these three people had done individually. What they are is that there is a on each one of the TIAs, what they did was that they in about one or two sentences, maybe three, explain real brief why there was the need for the TIA and what the TIA does. And second, to give all the supporting links, all the links to all the supporting documentation that if somebody wants to read War and Peace, read all the gory details regarding the development of that TIA, including what the technical nature was, the technical merit and the emergency nature. Because for those of you who don't understand what TIAs are, is they're temporary interim amendments. We're not talking about somebody having a mini stroke. What we're talking about is that we're talking about temporary interim amendments to the code, and that is where the code-making panel, after all is said and done, somebody realizes, oh my gosh, we have an emergency that needs to be fixed, and then we can't wait until the next code cycle that this needs to be addressed. And it also has to be on technical merit. And when they do a TIA, that becomes an automatic proposal to the next edition of code. Because of the timing, the TIAs were done in August of this year, but also they've already been incorporated into the 2017 NEC and are solidly in there, all four of these. Anyway, so those drafts will be going out, those proposed ghost-written drafts for the Building Standards Commission go out later today once we finish this meeting, and then the state will process those real quick, and there'll be thus the update to the solar permitting guidebook that simply references the informational bulletin, gives a brief explanation of what TIAs are, and then as well as they'll put up the informational bulletin, one informational bulletin for 4 TIAs.
It's not 4 bulletins, but one bulletin.
I think that the way they're going to do it is one informational bulletin for all TIAs, because they're all relative. They're related to your industry, to this industry, and it just makes a heck of a lot more sense. That's what I'm going to ask Mike to do, because I think it's a lot easier. Or if they do 4 separate ones, then there should be reference to the other 3 bulletins, just because of people needing, in my opinion. Every time you can make connections readily for people to find things, it's a lot easier than having to
That concludes your report?
That concludes that, Mr. Chair.
Any discussion on that report?
And, I'm sorry, you're right, I should have said one other thing. I guess what I will post up for the SEAC committee. I won't necessarily provide the communications with the executive director, but I will provide I'll provide the attachment that I'm providing to them, which has, here are all the proposed wording, here's all the TIA links and so forth, so that you guys have that early as well. And now I think about one other thing too. Sorry. So there was, for those of you who may not know, and this is I just was calculating last night how much time I have spent on this up in the north. I figured that, and what I'm talking about is that there's this training that NFPA does, offers for just AHJs, for just those who are enforcing the code. And they provide, every 3 years, they provide free training plus a copy for each guy who shows up, a copy of the new California Electrical Code, whether it be a PDF version or in hard copy. And last week, they did the tour of Southern California. In fact, in this very room was
over 210 people sitting in.
How many were there?
210.
210. So it's, when you total up how many done in Southern California, last week was about 700 code officials, and this week up in Northern California there's about 500. And you know, it makes sense because you have two of the most populated cities down here. But anyway, as part of that, I can tell you, at least for up north, is every single day, I'm missing today, but it will be brought up, is every single day when we hit 690.12 that the AHJs are informed about the TIAs, and they're also informed about have been informed about the TIAs and the informational bulletin coming, so that they are aware. In fact, the way I said it to them the last couple of days is I say, you know what's going to happen? I'm giving you a preview, guys, because what's going to happen? You darn well bet. Once that informational bulletin is no more than maybe 2-3 minutes old, what's going to happen is that you're going to have the solar installers on your doorstep pointing at that informational bulletin saying, hey, looky here. So, yeah, you heard it here.
We can't wait, John.
It looks like James McCormick has a question for John. Is this NFPA training for AHJs available nationwide? Just curious.
So James, what NFPA does, there's a couple of ways of training. First of all, NFPA, what I'm talking about is they do this for whenever a state adopts one of their codes, they make a commitment to providing a certain number of days of completely free training with a free copy of the book and all, and it costs them quite a lot for this. As you can well imagine. And they do that solely for the AHJs, for the enforcers of the code, not for the users of the code, the enforcers, people that enforce the code. So they've already done that for the state of California. If there's another state that adopts, and there will be another state adopts the NEC, then they will do the same type of offering, and probably a little less, simply because California is as large as it is. Rhode Island, I'm sure there's going to be a couple days they're done. Now, there's training available for the NEC, for update to NEC. Certainly NFPA does it, but also I would point to IAEI. IAEI, International Association of Electrical Inspectors, provide a lot of training on update of the codes that you can check with the local chapters. Or if you are not sure of what the local chapters are, you can go to iaei.org, and on that page there's all the links to contacts for all the chapters, the divisions, the sections. You can ask them. If you have difficulty finding it, you can let me know, or Steve Jones. Steve is actually on the board of the international of the IAI, so you certainly can provide it as well. And frankly, when NFPA does this training, or anybody, is they're utilizing the cumulative analysis of the NEC code changes. It's a document that you can actually go right now to iai.org/store, and you can, I think it's /store. It leads to iai.org, and on the right side you'll see it says shop, and you can purchase a copy of the cumulative analysis, and I would encourage anyone to do that. It's a great document. It's about as thick as the code book, and a lot of great pictures, a lot of great explanation, a lot of background as to why the change in the code. Did I do good enough infomercial, Steve?
I like that. That's really good. Our two kids.
You can tell Dave Clements that I did that.
I'll pass that on to Dave.
Make sure that Dave didn't know that I did that.
Yeah.
James? Okay. He's available to speak, but he just had a response. I will look into it. I don't think Ohio does statewide. Columbus specifically has special solar-specific AHJ systems to those with solar-specific knowledge. Since local AHJs have limited solar experience, I can check with IAEI as well. These are a big unique and decentralized in Ohio. Yes, great infomercial, perhaps more shared answers to the issue.
One thing that's funny that you bring up Ohio, James, because the NFPA electrical specialist, the guy who's responsible for all the National Electrical Code adoptions in the Western United States, Tim McClintock, lives in Ohio. And in fact, I'll see Tim tomorrow, and I'm sure that Tim would be very keen about connecting up with the code officials in the state of Ohio if there's issues about how they're adopting and using the National Electrical Code. So, James, if you wouldn't mind just zipping me an email, I'll share your contact with both Tim and with the local IAI guys, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you out in Ohio.
Brian Barr from Southern Battery, he emailed me saying, Michelle, please direct me on how to obtain access to the available shared document references.
What, on the Google Docs?
Referring to the ESS.
Oh, right here, actually. Yeah, just whatever available on.
Yeah, that'd be the Google Docs.
Yeah, there's a Google Docs for the committee, and that we use. Thanks to Paula setting that up, that was perfectly set up so that anybody can go. Some people can go on there and actually. Certain people that are like the committee leads can make modifications. Others can just simply you can go in and make comments, and suggestions, but you won't. But you have to be invited to.
Yeah, we have his email.
Good. Yeah, the more people we have involved in these committees, faster the work will go, and everybody has valuable input, and we appreciate your time.
All right.
Do we have another comment online? Okay, I want to go back real quick and identify at least 2 action items for the agenda items number 2 and 3. I see first off on number 2 that John Tacker was going to get the Sandia Department of Energy Storage information link and send to all SEAC members. Were there any other action items in number 2 that I'm missing?
How do we want to make sure we get, and where do we want to be before our February meeting? What's our goal?
Well, I think that's what we need to address as an action item. What is the goal of that committee in February? I know Mustafa's being very conservative in his 6 months. If there's any way we could pick that up a little bit, would be great.
Again, don't forget you're trying to write 2 different documents.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
As a matter of fact, what just came up with 2 different documents. One for 9540, one for the battery storage for 2014 NEC and one for energy storage system for 2017. At the same time, we tried to pull in all the documents from John for building and fire to meet to it, be able to complete it. That's what my forecast was 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's a
Got
lot
it.
of work.
And if Dave's still on the line, Dave Conover is that for DOE, was there a draft? Is there guidance for plan checking specifically and a guidance for inspections, or is it more general information? And is it based? And if you do have those, what are they based on? If you're still listening, Dave.
He's online, but it looks like you needed to sell.
Probably trying to think out how to address my convoluted question.
I'm going to pick up a call or cell phone ringing back.
Okay. Because I'm kind of wondering if there's some plagiarization, some borrowing of some work done by DOE that we might know.
And I think that would be helpful. You're sending out the link at the start of that process. Everybody can go to that link and see, reference all the information there. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, and I know that the Department of Energy of San Diego has done a lot of work on their energy storage system documents. So I'm sure we can start there and get some good information. So that's one action item. The action item on number 3, John was going to send out to all committee, to all SEAC members, the TIAs and the posting that's going to go to the Building Standards Commission today. Okay, so those are 2 action items. Were there any other action items that I missed?
I'm not going to volunteer anymore.
Yeah, let's take a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll get back to business.
15 after.
Yeah. Yeah? No, it's okay.
That's why they're just for everyone.
I don't want to do anything.
But,
Not the circuit to the battery.
Okay, let's try to regroup here.
I think it does.
Maybe in 20 minutes.
It's real specific. It's only the PV source.
Okay, I think if John is done with the 3, let's go to
I'm done in.
agenda item number 4. We'll turn that time over to Duncan.
Yeah, I appreciate folks allotting 30 minutes for this part of the conversation. This is really an opportunity to kind of open up to the floor and get a little bit of feedback and information. John and Danielle Bentz, who's on our policy team, and I were at a TUCC meeting just last month, November, up in Milpitas. And one of the things that sorry, go ahead.
So TUCC is Tri-Chapter Uniform Code Committee. There's 3 chapters up in the north, east, there's ICC Peninsula, ICC East Bay, and ICC Monterey Bay chapters that do several things together. They do code development together, collaborate together on that. They collaborate together on education, and they collaborate together on uniform code interpretation and setting up policies for the area. Similar to, I think, what's done down here as well. I think there's a couple of chapters that get together.
San Diego, Orange, and LA.
Right. Yeah, there we go. San Diego, Orange, and LA. I thought it was those 3. I couldn't remember whether Ventura was involved or not. It might be. But anyway, so the TUCC, the reason why, if I may...
No, please, yeah.
That and some context here is that that the TUCC has their guidelines that they're reviewing that they drawn up 3 years ago on the older code for PV installations, and thus because of Hector's visit that I got him up there for the Tri-Chapter annual meeting in last June, and the springboard from that, and then also with Duncan and Danielle from Solar City, was to go in there and say, hey guys, you might want to look at what's going on. Stop reinventing the wheel, and get involved more with SEAC. Use the SEAC model from here, so that then there's less and trying to get to less meetings, but more consistency,
More uniformity
throughout a region. And so that was in the context of it. But in the course of our meeting, there was some, whenever and we were looking at explaining, their policy is initially that they were looking at was the one about doing the quick inspections and the quick plan check in regards to conformity with AB 2188. It brought up some issues, and that's why I asked Duncan that Duncan could talk about and ask you guys how to deal with it.
Well, one of the behaviors that we're hearing about occurring among some of the contractors who are taking advantage of the fact that you can now quickly and easily get permits, thanks to y'all, is that there are instances of that being used as a marketing technique. So a stack of permits getting pulled for a given area, the permits being presented to the homeowner as, look, I've already got a permit to install PV on your home. You want to move forward with it. And this came as a bit of a shock, certainly to us, from the Solar City side of the fence. But my immediate reaction was not so much as Solar City as an installer, but kind of looked at it from the lens of the homeowner. I mean, I personally would be, I think, pretty dismayed that somebody went and used my name or my address to get a permit. And of course, this is just a marketing technique. Only a small percentage of those jobs, I'm sure, close. But then what happens is these contractors, unscrupulous as they are then of course going back to the municipalities and saying, I need my money back on this permit because the job's not going forward. And so, that fostered a rather interesting and kind of wide-ranging discussion within that group about how, you might deter the bad actors while not penalizing the folks who are playing by the rules on that. And I was hoping to be able to get some input and some comment. One, is anybody actually seeing this behavior occurring down here in the Southland? And are there any techniques that you guys have managed to implement that would otherwise undermine or deter the bad actors without discouraging the people who are playing by the rules and working within the intent of the expedited permit processing process.
I can speak for the City of Oceanside. I have not noticed this as a problem. I do probably 95% of all the plan reviews of PDs of the city, and I don't have a big, I don't have very little people come back for a refund. So I'm not experiencing any of that problem right now.
Yeah, recently, no. I've definitely had jurisdictions that will send a letter of authorization to the customer. Michigan being one of the city where I live in, right. Get customer authorization for the full permit. That's been one of the, I guess, determinants. But I haven't really heard of anything. No jurisdictions have reached out to me.
So documentation from the homeowner that allows the permit process to proceed. Good.
So there has to be documentation, some documentation showing that the homeowner has gone into contract or extended contract.
Yep, I just signed a letter before the permit.
Mustafa, do you see?
Yes, we see a lot of duplicate permits, and your company is one of it. All the cities submit the document with plan check, as well as a month later we get another company submitting the same address,
right?
The same part of stuff installation, and then we got two different permits. So we call the homeowner and say, which one you guys want us to issue the permit for? And both of them are pay the plan check. So the owner has to send an email to us and saying, choose Solar City or choose Orlando. So we're getting, yes, we're getting it. But we don't get one that is either the owner has signed. The case that we have found that the owner has signed the contract, but he didn't finalize the contract. So they install the choice on themselves to go and pay the fee. And I talked to both the companies saying, we're taking a chance, no problem. We will aid the plan check, no problem.
So again, partway through the contracting process, but haven't gone to final. Is that what you're?
Yes.
That's your understanding what's occurring?
Right. That's not true.
So what was being noticed by several of the jurisdictions up in the Bay Area was that somebody would go and pull the permit for, say, pull a permit for my house. I have no idea that there was a permit pulled whatsoever. They pull the permit, and then when they come to me and they say, "Hey, would you like, we got the permit," and I say, "No, thank you," and then they go, "Oh," and then they will go back and they want 100% refund of their permit fee from the jurisdiction, and the jurisdiction struggling with that, and they're getting to the point where they're thinking, what can we do? Because they can't say, "Oh, well, for PV permits, we're not going to refund, but we'll refund on this," or they can't single out.
Well, first of all, before we start the process of plan checking, we get the plan check fee paid first. That money is not refundable once we done the plan check on.
Yeah, once the plan check is performed, the fee is not refundable. Not the same with us.
Absolutely.
Well, the plan check hasn't been done. This is just simply pulling the permit to begin with.
So what we do is electronically, when we accept any plan, we process them. We ask whoever, the homeowner or the installer, to go pay the plan check fee. Once he pays the plan check fee, we start the plan check. Now, if anybody comes to the counter, they're supposed to be going to our district offices, which is for 15 contract cities and 11 county offices. Pay the fee there, or choose to pay the fee here. Otherwise, we will not start doing the plan check. At the same time, regarding having not owner known, we had a couple of those cases. We had one case that the owner, we do ask for on-premise structure form to be signed. We have 3 different forms. We have few of the owners come back and say, I never signed these documents, because we have Form A, Form B, and Form C, which is Form A Form B requires the owner to sign that document. And the owner come back and said, this is my signature. Who gave me this?
Well, that's fraud, but that's not what we're talking
Oh,
about.
no, but I'm saying that we get a different variation of different stuff, but we working with the owners, and the final decision has to come from the owner. So once They want to decide which company, or in case of they only have no clue, we had about a couple of those cases. That's it.
So in Oceanside, just to address Oceanside, because I don't know what everybody else is doing, but in Oceanside, when you apply for an application, you're submitting your plans. I'm doing your review.
So you have to apply, you apply all the front.
Yeah, so it gets approved within an hour or less right there, and there's no refund. I've already done that.
The work's been done.
Yep, you come back and say, I want a refund for plan review, no, I've already done it.
Well, what I'm hearing from the jurisdictions up north, the ones who are commenting about it, I don't think there was not any work done.
No, we were hearing that was decoupled, that the pulling of the permit was independent of the plan check, and that was,
And maybe that's where...
that's the deterrent then.
Hey, you submit your plans when you submit your application for all projects, not just PD.
So that, because that would be okay for the good actors, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I talked to our permitting team, but it sounds to me like a pretty straightforward solution. I mean, obviously, the work is done. The work is done.
Right, but I mean, if there is a coupling of permit, of obtaining the permit with having the plan check done, so you can't, in other words, you cannot pull a permit without...
That do that. Especially ones where we start moving to this online permitting thing. Yeah. You do online permitting, like as soon as you finish, you input all the information, like you got a permit. Plans haven't been checked yet. That does happen in several jurisdictions in Southern California.
Well, for example, City of LA, you go through the process and you check mark all the items and you pay the fee and the permit will be issued. Yeah. That means the plan check has been done automatically rather than individual fitting to the plan check.
Yep. But that would not be refundable because the work is being done.
That will not be functioning.
Same is true in San Diego. Lead edging for San Diego, same thing. We don't have that. There's a few strange areas, but...
And so when you submit up front, you get your plan permit or your plan tech fee, and you're getting the application with the design.
We have a professional certification program where we use the template and have a few hoops to jump through, but the fees are from the client.
So those jurisdictions that have it,
Make that. I thank you. I just wanted to open that up to the floor and see if there was anything in the epidemic or pandemic category. It doesn't sound like it.
or any other issues. I guess the question would be is that since it's been how long since AB 2188 has been going, is that are there any other little things that might be, from anybody's perspective, that little things like that might need to be addressed or kicked around?
The next thing is rapid shutdown. Trying to figure out how to represent it on the next level project. I don't know if rapid shutdown is qualified.
Well, when you see the solar permitting guidebook, when it comes out, there will be 6 very specific methods you can do. And that was because there were some on the committee, on the task group, that felt that we needed to be super prescriptive.
Yes.
And so they are.
For anybody who wants, however they want to do it.
So there are actually 7 very prescriptive ways that are in the solar permitting guidebook for the 2016 California Electrical Code. And that one of those prescriptive means, of course, is a UL 1741 listed rapid shutdown equipment. But then the others are you could use certain listed contactors within inside the array, inside the zone, if you will, inside the boundaries. You could use microinverters. You could use that.
Don't get mixed up on that listing. It doesn't have to be listed in 1741. It's listed by itself. So if you have a contact, it's listed by itself as contact. It
And that's the way it's described in there.
Right, we actually, so we, as of January 1st, again, if you guys have any permits that you guys don't want to comply with after shutdown or like early grounding, please submit them now.
So for the time that we spent on that task group, updating the solar permitting guidebook from the references from the 2013 California Electrical Code to the 2016 California Electrical Code, and making sure everything was in there correctly. That for all the time we spent on that committee, on all of that, I think more than half the time was spent just on 690.12. Is that right, Mark?
I think it's more than half.
I think it was probably more. It's at least half, if not.
That's about right.
3/4. Alan, I heard Alan pipe up on that like.
Just about.
By the way, is CST trying to publish that, the latest guidebook?
My group specifically has been working on it. I can follow up. Who have you been coordinating with to of the request?
So actually, Don Hughes from CSA was involved.
Okay.
But what there was is that there was, it actually was two OPRs. It's been very convoluted.
Yeah, I understand the framework. I just want to know specifically.
It's been very convoluted because what there was that there was, as Don put it, we brought the band back together. Those of us who were originally involved with establishing what was the solar permitting guidebook to begin with. And we had as our chair again, we had a SAMA unit from the City of Los Angeles. And we worked on it during the summer, and we got it done, and then there was sent a copy over to Calcea, and being involved with Calcea and being on Calcea, I got to see that. And then there was I think there were some people kind of missed there that didn't quite understand what the exercise was. They thought it was an opportunity to say, oh, these are other things I would like to see in there, but those are not things that were in the code. And so therefore, you know, albeit that's on your wish list and that may be in the future, that's not, we can only put in what was in the code. And then my understanding was in October, November was when there was the California Building Standards Commission was asked by OPR to the Office of Policy and Research to review, and they did that, and they sent their comments back. And my understanding is now they're holding just to put in the informational bulletin. That's my understanding, the only holdup now. And also it is my understanding that there's been, that I've heard is that there has been, OPR is looking to, you know, they still be, you know, the role they are, but they, for the maintenance, that's the big question, the maintenance of that document. Is the proposal, if it's not already solidified, is that the Building Standards Commission have the ownership of that document, of the solar permitting guidebook. And so the proposal that is coming from SEAC is that that SEAC provides the technical portion and the input that would get the different stakeholders and interest into making the changes that we put forward.
Thank you for that explanation. I will follow up with my team who I know is working on the solar guidebook project. That funding has been closed. And now I will make sure I know who the point of contact for this group will be to get those updates made and what the process will be.
And it seems logical that SEAC, because most of almost, if not all the people that were involved in the solar permitting guidebook, most are on SEAC.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Correct, Masawa? I can't think of anybody who.
I think all of us.
On the solar permitting guidebook that is not yet SEAC.
There are all staff members. Pete Jackson, me, you, Mark,
Alan,
and Don Hughes.
yeah.
Hand up is up.
Cannot forget the
You can. He's listening.
Looks like John Hughes says we're waiting for OPR to hold up this day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
TIA, hold up.
Thanks, Don, for rubbing that in.
By the time you have to say something.
Yeah, I was having a little trouble. I turned off my internal microphone on my computer last meeting, so sorry about that. Yeah, I think the holdup was the TIAs. I think the holdup was the
Because he was going to do all the talking himself.
Hey, just because it's afternoon where you are.
Yeah, it's only 2:48. I'm still I work on California time for the most part because of my engagement with everybody that's on your coast over there on your end of the field. Yeah, I think we were looking. We sent it to OBR. We were just waiting for OPR, but I think the TIAs were the holdup. They were waiting to see what building standards was going to do about that, so that they could try to get that language in there.
Good. Thank you for the update, Duncan and John and Don. No other discussion on that. Let's move into new business. I have one announcement that there will be a next steering committee meeting. Will be December 15th. It'll be 2 p.m. Again, we'll be reviewing the documents that Howard has given us. At that meeting, we're going to look at making some adjustments to the way we do business going forward, making sure that we are all in agreement moving forward with the SoCal Renewable Energy Network, making sure that we meet all the commitments with this group going forward, kind of reorganizing ourselves a little bit, but again, it's right in what we're doing. So again, December 15th, 2 p.m. We'll also be looking at maybe adopting some operating rules going forward.
Work time.
We'll start working on operating rules. Another announcement is the City of Oceanside is working with IRAC, Department of Energy grant that was awarded to IRAC, with IAEI hosting a free training event for PV plan check. Right now we have a tentative date for February 10th at the City of Oceanside. That will be a 6-hour event for training.
What was that date again?
February 10th. And there will be CEUs offered. As soon as I get more information nailed down on this, I'll get it back to the whole group here. Is there any other new business that needs to be brought forth before the committee? Anyone online?
Not me. This is Dave, but thanks for letting me sit in.
Thank you so much. Okay, hearing no more new business, the next meeting is February 16th, and it'll be held here. We'll start again at 9:30. No? So what venue are we going to?
The months of February, April, first 3 months, and then you want to be even months of 2017. First 3 are the last 3 are.
So what you'll be is good. That's fine. So which one of those? That was February, April, and what?
And June.
Okay, that's fine. So I just doing the belts and suspenders protectionism, making sure there will be something. Is that my facility is available on those 3 days. I actually schedule it for the entire year at my place. I was preferring here more, but for various reasons. But I'm fine with it, at least for February. And if there's somebody else who wants to step up because they want to, that's fine. But I can handle February, April, June.
Okay, so we're talking about the Brea location again?
Yep.
Unless you want to change it
Which the San Diego, well, I personally think it's better to hold, be on the same date. It's always because part of our logic and part of our pick of the day, of the time of day and the time of month was consistency for people who have other other meetings and such that are on that type of a schedule, of a rhythm, if you will. And odd months are not good because of IAI meetings are typically on the odd months. Then trying to stay away from ICC chapter meetings. Goes on. So.
They get authorization to hold month of Thunder with employees for
Okay, good. That's great. Keeps it kind of in a general area. It's easier for me to get to Brea than it is here, but
yeah, I know. So I would say you know we've got options to make sure that, I mean, my suggestion is we try for as many as we can to be here, and then but we have fallback positions, I guess is what I'm saying. And so for February, definitely let's just make it easy and just simply say right now it's at the Brea office.
okay. And we'll send out an agenda for all the next items and with the location announced on the next agenda. Very good meeting, everybody. I think that we've got a lot accomplished. Hope everybody feels confident that SEAC is here to stay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.